Hi everybody, welcome back to 5280 Sports Network. My name is Shawn Jotar. With me is Jake Marcy. Jake, I have in my hand a very interesting depth chart that the Denver Broncos released with a whole bunch of people split down the middle. I think we understand there really aren't two starters at quarterback. This is Mark Sanchez's job to lose. He's more than likely to get the start in Chicago. What other players beyond that do you expect to have a lot to lose and a lot to gain in this first preseason?
First name is Khalif Raymond, wide receiver out of Holy Cross. He's been out here getting mostly punt and kick return reps. Kubiak today said that he really wants to see Khalif Raymond during this first preseason game, a guy who's going to fight for a spot on this roster. Jordan Norwood, the presumed punt returner, is not necessarily going to be that guy. Khalif Raymond is a guy that I'm looking for. Another guy is Michael Schofield, listed on that depth chart. Another one of those slash positions at right guard, I believe he's
correct.
Listed at there.
Co-number one with Ty Sambrailo.
Co-number one with Ty Sambrailo. I want to see how Michael Schofield plays, what kind of reps they give him, where they play him. There's some talk he's going to play left tackle. They're going to mix him around. Kubiak says he can play anywhere but center. Obviously, last season and during the playoffs, Michael Schofield was a liability at times. So seeing how he can come out as somebody I'm also going to be keeping an eye on.
I think Khalil
aside
Mack,
from the quarterbacks.
people remember Khalil Mack and Michael Schofield as, well, looked a lot like a traffic cone in orange. They expect better than that. When you go to the tight end position, of course, now we're looking at Jeff Hireman and Virgil Green sitting at the top of that list. To me, it's not really a split, though. This is Virgil Green's job. Is this an opportunity basically for Hireman to step up and prove to Gary Kubiak that he can play a major role in the passing offense?
I think it has been, and that was actually my biggest surprise on that depth chart, was the split at tight end, because Virgil Green has gotten virtually every single first-team rep at tight end. But this coaching staff and this GM really like Jeff Hireman. They want to see him get a lot of time in the preseason. Obviously didn't play at all last year. I think that's the product of, that's the reasoning behind where that depth chart lines up for Hireman and Virgil Green, more than it is anything else. They want to see him get reps.
One of the things that I'd like to see coming forward, and we'll get a good look at it, Bradley Roby. Now, we know what Bradley Roby can do, but there's, to me, I think, is a very, I wouldn't even say a good chance. I'm convinced that Aqib Talib is going to be suspended for some amount of time. I think there's no way around that. Bradley Roby's going to eventually have to step in and take over that number one position alongside, at least, Chris Harris Jr. for whether it's 2 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe even 8 weeks. That means that Kayvon Webster and maybe Lorenzo Doss have to step up and look into that nickel spot. Those seem to be guys that I'll be paying attention to a little bit because they'll get a chance to play probably more than usual in this first game.
Lorenzo Doss has had an excellent camp out here. He's flying around making plays. That's a guy, another guy you can add to the list of names, especially with the Aqib Talib thing. And I agree with you. I expect Talib to have a suspension come down probably after the third preseason game. I want to see Lorenzo Doss and see what kind of reps he gets and how he can play against the Bears in Chicago on Thursday.
We don't expect most of the first teamers to play very long, obviously. There is one matchup, though, that you could see that, and it's not one you think of very regularly, at punter. Britton Colquitt, not listed as a split starter like so many others, listed as the number one guy. Remember, it's more than just punting that the punter has to deal with in the Broncos. They have to hold for Brandon McManus. This is an offense that's expected to be a little conservative compared to the ones we've seen the last few years. Colquitt, despite being someone that the Broncos might like to move on from, not because of his play, but because of the money that he's owed, is he going to be able to hold on to this job simply because his familiarity with McManus and his ability to be reliable is a little more than maybe the Broncos expected with Dixon?
That is such a good look at things and a good take out here, Shawn, because Brandon McManus has been leaps and bounds better, at least out here, when Britton Colquitt is his holder and not Riley Dixon. And that was something that when you talk to Gary Kubiak about how that decision is going to get made, holding for McManus is a really critical piece of it that maybe we don't think about all that much. I really want to see how McManus looks with both those guys, and we expect both punters to get full and even reps throughout this game on Thursday night, and we'll see where things go. The Broncos want to move on from Britton Colquitt. It may be tough for him to do it once again.
Well, one of the guys that I'll be looking forward to is familiar to Bronco fans. He has a make or break, not only maybe preseason in front of him, but maybe game. That's Ronnie Hillman. Now, Ronnie Hillman was listed as a number 2 co-backup with Devontae Booker, the rookie out of Utah. Now, they love Booker. Gary Kubiak has talked very highly about Capri Bibbs' improvement. We know they like Juwan Thompson a bit. We know that Andy Janovich, the fullback that they drafted, he's going to make this team. And we know C.J. Anderson's going to be there. Ronnie Hillman, to me, at the moment, looks like he's one of the guys on the outside looking in. It may be possible, as odd as it sounds to Broncos fans, that Ronnie Hillman needs a big game and show up big time against the Bears in order to even hold this spot as a backup, because with that big, not a huge money target, but bigger than the other guys behind him, maybe the Broncos decide they don't need him.
Two things on Ronnie Hillman. Play and attitude. His play out here has not been great. His attitude has been worse, especially early in camp. Goes down with a back injury, has been yelled at maybe more than any player out here on the field. I agree. He's got to come out and compete and look like he's actually fighting for his job, which is just something that we haven't seen a lot of out of him. He looks like a guy who's the most veteran running back, was the rushing leader last season, when those things are true, but he's also out here competing for a job. And Devontae Booker looks great. Ronnie Hillman's going to have a big day. I agree with you completely.
So here are the guys. This is the last time we'll be here until Saturday. The Broncos will play the Bears on Thursday night, week 1 of the preseason. Khalif Raymond, kickoff returner. The right guard battle, Sombrilo and Schofield. Of course, the quarterback battle between Semien and Sanchez. And keep an eye out on Lorenzo Doss and Ronnie Hillman. Those are the Broncos we'll be looking for in week 1 of the preseason. We'll be back with you on Saturday when the Broncos resume camp out here at the UC Health Training Center. For Jake Marsing, I'm Shawn Drotar. This is 5280 Sports Network.